It was an ordinary Tuesday morning at NASA's Deep Space Communications Center when everything changed. Tom Wilson, the night shift operator, was about to head home when his computer screen lit up with an unusual signal. At first, he thought it was just another piece of space debris reflecting signals. But this was different. The pattern was too regular, too structured. "Hey, Mike." Tom called out to his replacement, who had just walked in with his morning coffee. "Come take a look at this." Mike Peters set down his coffee and leaned over Tom's shoulder. The screen showed a repeating pattern unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't random, and it definitely wasn't human-made. After 20 years of watching empty screens and false alarms, they were finally seeing something real. Within hours, the facility was crawling with experts. The message, once decoded, was simple but shocking. To any civilization receiving this message, "We are stranded. Our fleet of 50,000 ships carries the last survivors of 3 star systems. We are trapped in what you call the Oort cloud. Our drives have failed. We need help." The news spread like wildfire. Every TV channel, website, and social media platform exploded with the same headlines. "Aliens are real, and they need our help." The High Council of Earth, a recently formed global governance body, called an emergency meeting in Geneva. Representatives from every nation gathered to debate humanity's response. Should they help? Could they help? Was it a trap? "We can't possibly reach the Oort cloud with our current technology," argued the Chinese representative. "Our fastest ships would take months to get there." "This could be a trick," warned the Russian delegate. "An invasion strategy." As the debate raged on, Jack Cooper sat quietly in the back of the room. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was just a mechanic who had been fixing the building's air conditioning when the meeting started. But something about the aliens' message caught his attention. The aliens had sent technical data about their ships. While the politicians argued, Jack studied the diagrams on his tablet. Their technology was incredible. Quantum drives, AI-controlled systems, neural interfaces, but something about it all seemed oddly familiar. Finally, Jack couldn't stay quiet any longer. He stood up, his work boots squeaking on the polished floor. "Excuse me," he said, his voice echoing in the grand chamber. "But has anyone actually looked at their engine diagrams?" The room fell silent. Security started moving toward him, but the council president raised her hand, motioning them to stop. "Continue, Mr. Cooper, Mom." "Jack Cooper. I'm just a mechanic, but I've been looking at these diagrams. Their ships might be advanced, but they still follow basic mechanical principles. Energy in, energy out. Cooling systems, pressure regulation. The fancy quantum stuff is built on top of that foundation." He pulled up one of the diagrams on the main screen. "See here. Their cooling system is basically just a really advanced radiator. And here," he pointed to another section, "this is just a fancy pressure release valve. The principles haven't changed since we invented the steam engine." The room was silent for a moment. Then Dr. Emma Roberts, Earth's leading physicist, stood up. "He's right," she said, studying the diagrams. "The quantum technology is built on basic mechanical systems. We might not understand their advanced tech, but we could potentially help with the underlying systems." The council president leaned forward. "Mr. Cooper, are you suggesting we could actually help these aliens?" Jack shrugged. "Sometimes the oldest solutions work best, ma'am. When something goes wrong with a complex machine, you start with the basics. Have they checked their coolant levels? Pressure seals? Connection points? Sometimes the fanciest car in the world stops running because of a loose spark plug." The mood in the room shifted. For the first time, helping the aliens seemed possible. They might not understand quantum physics, but they understood machines. It was what humans had always been good at: fixing things, solving problems, finding simple solutions to complex problems. The president stood up. "I believe we have our answer. We will send a response team. Dr. Roberts, you'll head up the scientific division. And Mr. Cooper. She paused, looking at the mechanic in his worn work clothes. How would you like to be our chief mechanical consultant? Jack looked down at his dirty boots, then back at the alien diagrams. Yes, ma'am, he said simply. Someone's got to help them check their spark plugs. The message was sent that evening. We are Earth. We hear you. Help is coming. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin. 3 months after Earth received the distress call, the international rescue ship Hope approached the edge of the solar system. Commander Anna West stood at the bridge, watching the radar screen with growing amazement. The alien fleet stretched out before them, so vast it looked like a new constellation. I've never seen anything like it, she whispered. Beside her, Jack Cooper pressed his face against the window, his eyes wide. The alien ships were beautiful, sleek silver vessels that seemed to glow with their own light, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. They're asking us to dock with their command ship. The Hope was tiny compared to the alien vessel, like a rowboat next to an aircraft carrier. As they drew closer, Jack noticed something odd. Look at their hull, he said, pointing. No repair hatches, no maintenance access points. How do they fix anything? The docking process was automatic, handled by the alien ship's computers. When the airlock opened, the human crew got their first look at the stellar collective. The aliens were tall, elegant beings with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. They wore no spacesuits, only light clothing that pulsed with gentle light. Their leader, who called himself First Guide, stepped forward. Welcome, humans, he said, his words automatically translated by a floating orb beside him. We apologize for our current state. Commander West noticed the strain in his voice. How can we help? Our systems are failing, First Guide explained as he led them through corridors that seemed to be made of flowing light. Our quantum drives, our life support, our navigation, everything is shutting down. We've lost 3 ships already. Had to evacuate them. Jack was looking around with a mechanic's eye. Where are your engine rooms? The aliens exchanged confused looks. We don't have rooms for engines, First Guide said. Our systems are integrated throughout the ship. I maintains everything. So how do you fix things when they break? Jack asked. Fix. Another alien stepped forward, introducing herself as tech supervisor. Our systems don't break. They're self-repairing, self-maintaining. At least, they were. She paused. Until now. They reached what the aliens called the control center. Instead of buttons and switches, there were only smooth surfaces that responded to thought commands. Holographic displays showed the status of the fleet, and it wasn't good. Red warnings flashed everywhere. May I? Jack asked, pulling out an old tablet computer. The aliens looked curiously at the primitive device. He started scanning one of their panels. Interesting. You've got power, but it's not flowing right. Like a clogged pipe. Impossible, tech supervisor said. Our quantum conduits don't clog. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Jack shrugged. Maybe so, but energy is energy. It's got to flow from point A to point B. He pulled something else from his bag. A simple pressure gauge. The alien stared at it like it was a stone axe. What is that device? First Guide asked. Just a pressure gauge, old reliable. Jack attached it to what he guessed was an access point. The needle immediately swung into the red. Well, there's your problem. You've got massive pressure buildup in your cooling system. The aliens crowded around, fascinated by the simple mechanical device. How can you know this? Tech supervisor asked. Our quantum diagnostics show nothing wrong. Sometimes you need to check the basics, Jack explained. Your fancy quantum sensors might not register good old-fashioned pressure buildup, like trying to find a nail in your tire by running a computer analysis instead of just listening for the hiss. Commander West watched as Jack continued his inspection. I think I understand, she said. Your technology is so advanced, You've lost touch with the fundamental mechanics. You can't see the forest for the trees. First guide looked confused at the saying, but nodded slowly. Perhaps we have become too reliant on our advanced systems. We never considered something so basic could be the problem. Jack stood up, wiping his hands on his pants. Good news is, this is fixable. Bad news is, you're probably having the same issue throughout the fleet. We're going to need more pressure gauges. He grinned. And maybe a few wrenches. The aliens looked at each other, then back at the humans. For the first time in months, hope showed in their silvery eyes. Sometimes it took a step backward to move forward. And humanity, with its primitive knowledge, might just be exactly what they needed. Teach us, First Guide said simply. And so the real work began. The next week aboard the alien command ship was unlike anything the human crew had expected. Instead of learning about advanced quantum physics, they found themselves teaching the aliens the most basic principles of mechanical engineering. Jack set up what he called the mechanics school in one of the alien ship's large chambers. He used empty storage containers as makeshift chairs and a piece of white panel as a drawing board. His first class had 50 alien engineers, all watching with a mixture of curiosity and confusion as he drew a simple diagram. This, he said, pointing to his drawing, is how energy flows through any system. Doesn't matter if it's a car engine or your fancy quantum drive. Input, output, and all the bits in between need to work together. Commander West stood at the back of the room, hiding a smile as she watched the highly advanced aliens taking notes on something as simple as pressure systems. One of them raised a hand. But our systems are self-maintaining, the alien said. Why would we need to understand these manual processes? Jack picked up a wrench. Because when your self-maintaining systems fail, someone needs to know how to fix them the old-fashioned way. It's like having a spare tire in your car. You hope you never need it, but you're in big trouble if you don't have it. As the days passed, more aliens joined the classes. They were fascinated by the simple tools the humans brought. Wrenches, pressure gauges, manual diagnostic devices, things their civilization had abandoned centuries ago. The breakthrough came on the 8th day. A warning alarm blared through the ship. Another vessel in the fleet was losing power. Instead of panicking, Jack saw an opportunity. Time for some hands-on learning, he announced to his class. They boarded a shuttle and headed to the troubled ship. The alien vessel's systems were almost completely dead. The quantum diagnostics showed nothing wrong, but Jack's pressure gauge told a different story. He gathered his alien students around. Watch carefully, he said, attaching the gauge to different points in the system. See how the pressure changes. That tells us where the problem is. No computers needed. The aliens crowded around, their eyes wide as they watched the simple device work. One of them, who Jack had nicknamed Quick because she picked things up faster than the others, stepped forward. May I try? She asked, reaching for the gauge. Jack handed it over with a smile. Remember what I taught you. Listen to the ship. Feel the vibrations. Sometimes your hands and ears are better than any computer. Quick moved methodically through the system, just as Jack had taught them. Suddenly, she stopped. Here, the pressure drops significantly at this point. According to your lessons, that means a leak, Jack finished. Probably a microfracture in the cooling system. Your quantum sensors are too sophisticated to notice something so simple. The aliens watched in amazement as Quick used a basic leak detection kit, just soap and water, to find the tiny crack. Within hours, they had sealed the breach and restored power to the ship. First Guide, who had been observing the whole process, approached Commander West. We have been blind, he said quietly. We thought advancing meant leaving the basics behind. We were wrong. West nodded. The best technology is useless if you don't understand the principles behind it. That's something we humans learned the hard way too. By the end of the day, the news had spread through the fleet. The primitive humans had taught the aliens how to fix their own ships using nothing but basic tools and understanding. Requests for Jack's classes doubled, then tripled. In the evening, Jack sat in the Hope's crew lounge, looking out at the vast alien fleet. Commander West joined him, offering a cup of coffee. "You know what's funny?" he said, taking the cup. "They can bend space and time, but they never thought to check their coolant levels." West laughed. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the hardest to see, especially when you're used to everything being complicated." Jack nodded, sipping his coffee. "Tomorrow I'm teaching them about backup systems. They think I'm crazy for suggesting manual overrides, but after today, I think they'll listen." Outside the window, another group of alien engineers was practicing with pressure gauges, their silvery faces intense with concentration. They were learning that sometimes, to move forward, you had to take a step back. And humanity, with its careful balance of innovation and tradition, was the perfect teacher for that lesson. Just as the humans and aliens were starting to make progress, everything changed. Commander West was woken in the middle of the night by blaring alarms. The command ship's emergency lights pulsed with an eerie red glow. "Report," she called out as she rushed into the alien command center. The scene before her was chaos. More red lights were appearing on the fleet status display. Dozens, then hundreds of ships were losing power. First Guide's silver skin had turned a pale gray with worry. "It's spreading," he said. "The system failures. They're no longer random. Something is causing them." Jack burst into the room, toolkit in hand. "I've got 3 repair teams working on the eastern section of the fleet, but we can't keep up. As soon as we fix one ship, 2 more go down." "Quick!" Now the lead alien student of human engineering stepped forward with a data tablet. "Look at this pattern," she said, pointing to a diagram. "The failures are moving through the fleet like a virus," Commander West finished. The room fell silent. First Guide's hands trembled as he brought up a new display. "We should have told you sooner," he said quietly. "We're not just refugees looking for a new home. We're running from something." The display showed a dark wave moving through space, consuming everything in its path. "We call it the digital plague," First Guide explained. "It infects any advanced AI system it touches. That's why we fled our home systems. And now, it seems it has found us." Jack studied the display, his face grim. "That's why your quantum drives failed. The virus got to them first." "Yes," First Guide admitted. "We thought we had outrun it, had time to find a solution. We were wrong. And now it's here, in your solar system." Commander West's mind raced. "But our ships are fine. The Hope hasn't had any problems." "Because your technology is too simple to infect," Quick said, excitement growing in her voice. "Your backup systems, your manual controls, they're immune." Jack's eyes widened. "That's it," he exclaimed. "We don't need to beat this thing. We just need to go around it." He grabbed a marker and started drawing on a nearby panel, ignoring the alien's winces at the primitive act. "Look," he continued, sketching quickly. "Your ships are completely integrated. Every system is connected through your quantum network. But what if we disconnected them? Install manual bypasses, mechanical backups. Make each system independent." First Guide shook his head. "Impossible. Our ships weren't designed for that. We would need to modify all 50,000 vessels." "Then we better get started," Commander West said firmly. She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we need every mechanic, engineer, and technician they can spare. And tell them to bring tools. Lots of tools." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Jack and Quick led teams through the fleet, teaching others how to install manual controls and bypass infected systems. They worked against time as the digital plague crept closer, ship by ship. "It's like adding seat belts to a teleporter," Jack explained to a group of alien engineers as they retrofitted a ship's cooling system. "Sure, it seems primitive, but it might just save your life." Commander West coordinated the effort from the command ship, watching as more human vessels arrived from Earth, bringing supplies and workers. The aliens were amazed at how quickly humans could adapt and organize. Your people, First Guide observed, watching the rescue effort unfold. They don't hesitate. They just act. West smiled. That's because we're used to things going wrong. When you live with imperfect technology, you learn to be ready for anything. By the end of the day, they had modified nearly 1,000 ships. But as night fell, the plague's advance was visible to the naked eye, a wave of darkened ships approaching the fleet's edge. We need more time, Jack said, wiping sweat from his forehead as he studied the fleet display. And we need a better plan, because right now, this isn't just about fixing ships anymore. Commander West nodded grimly. It's about saving an entire civilization and proving that sometimes going backward is the only way to move forward. The digital plague crept closer, but now they had a fighting chance. Sometimes the best defense against advanced technology was no technology at all. The massive repair bay of the alien command ship had been transformed into what Jack called the Exchange. On one side, humans taught aliens about mechanical systems. On the other, aliens explained their quantum technology to eager human engineers. The air buzzed with excitement as two civilizations shared their knowledge. Quick stood at a workbench, carefully taking apart an old Earth car engine that had been brought up on the last supply run. Her silver fingers moved with growing confidence as she removed each part. "Amazing," she said, holding up a piston. "So simple, yet so efficient. We had forgotten that machinery doesn't need to be complex to work well." Jack watched her work with pride. In just 2 weeks, she had mastered concepts that had taken him years to learn. "You're a natural," he said. "You understand machines in your gut, not just your head." Across the room, Commander West sat with First Guide, watching the scene unfold. Hundreds of aliens and humans worked side by side, their differences forgotten in their shared purpose. "Your quantum technology is incredible," West said, studying a holographic display of an alien engine. "If we can combine it with our mechanical systems." First Guide nodded excitedly. "Yes, a hybrid system, complex enough to be powerful, simple enough to resist the plague." His silver skin glowed brighter, a sign of enthusiasm among his people. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. One of the human engineers, Bill, was showing Quick how to use a manual pressure release valve when she suddenly dropped her tools. "That's it," she exclaimed. "The solution was right in front of us." She rushed to a terminal and began typing rapidly, her fingers blurring over the holographic keys. "What is it?" Jack asked, hurrying over. Quick pulled up a diagram. "Look, we can use your mechanical systems as a framework, like a skeleton. Then we wrap our quantum technology around it, but keep them separate. If the plague infects the quantum systems, the mechanical backup kicks in automatically." Jack finished. "Like having 2 engines in one ship." The news spread through the repair bay like wildfire. Engineers from both species gathered around Quick's workstation, adding ideas and suggestions. Within hours, they had designed the first prototype of a hybrid drive system. "It's beautiful," First Guide said, studying the design. "The perfect balance of both our technologies." Commander West looked at the technical readouts. "Can we build it?" Jack scratched his chin thoughtfully. "We've got the parts. Earth sent up enough mechanical components to rebuild a small city, and the aliens have their quantum technology." "Then let's do it," Quick said firmly. She had come a long way from the confused alien who didn't understand simple tools. Now she moved with confidence, gathering materials and organizing teams. They worked through the night. Humans showed aliens how to weld and bolt components together, while aliens taught humans how to integrate quantum elements safely. The air filled with the sounds of hammering and the soft hum of quantum fields. By morning, the prototype sat on the workbench, a strange combination of gleaming alien technology and sturdy human engineering. It looked like something from both the past and the future. "Moment of truth," Jack said, reaching for the power switch. The room held its breath. The drive hummed to life. Quantum energy flowed through mechanical channels. each system supporting the other. On the diagnostic screen, all readings showed green. "It works," Quick shouted, her usual alien reserve forgotten in the excitement. The room erupted in cheers, human and alien voices mixing together in celebration. Commander West turned to First Guide. "Can we mass-produce these?" First Guide was already running calculations, with both our peoples working together. "Yes, we can modify all ships in the fleet within 2 weeks." "Then we better get started," Jack said, rolling up his sleeves. "Because I've got a feeling that Plague isn't going to wait around." As teams began organizing for mass production, Quick pulled Jack aside. "Thank you," she said softly, "for teaching us that moving forward sometimes means remembering what we left behind." Jack smiled. "And thank you for showing us that the future doesn't mean abandoning the past. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone." Outside the repair bay window, the first light of Earth's distant sun touched the alien fleet. Soon, those ships would carry something new, a combination of the best of both civilizations, proof that sometimes the greatest advances come from looking back, as well as forward. The warning came just before dawn. A human scout ship at the edge of the fleet picked up the first signs of the digital plague. The dark wave of infected ships was now visible to the naked eye, a shadow creeping across the stars. "Time estimate?" Commander West asked, her voice tense as she studied the fleet's display screen. 12 hours until it reaches the outer ships," the scout ship reported. "Maybe less." The command center erupted into action. Jack and Quick stood at the central planning table, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of their modification efforts. After 2 weeks of non-stop work, they had converted just over half the fleet to the new hybrid systems. 25,000 ships still to go, Jack said, rubbing his tired eyes. And only 12 hours to do it. First Guide's silver skin had taken on a worried gray tone. "Impossible. Even with all our teams working together, we can't modify that many ships so quickly." Quick looked up from her calculations. "Maybe we don't have to." All eyes turned to her. "Look at how the plague moves. It jumps from ship to ship through the quantum network. What if we create a firewall? A wall of modified ships," Jack caught on quickly. "Place all the converted vessels between the plague and the others. Buy us more time." Commander West nodded sharply. "Make it happen. First Guide, order all modified ships to form a barrier at these coordinates." She marked a line across the fleet display. "Jack, Quick, you have teams in every sector. Get those remaining ships converted. Priority to the biggest vessels first." The next hours were a blur of desperate activity. The fleet moved like a massive school of fish, modified ships taking position, while work teams raced through the others. Every available hand was put to work, humans and aliens together, passing tools, welding connections, installing backup systems. Jack found himself running from ship to ship, teaching, fixing, encouraging. "Remember the basics," he shouted to a mixed team of human and alien engineers. "Keep the mechanical systems separate from the quantum. That's what keeps the plague out." Quick coordinated the effort from the command ship, her silver fingers flying over holographic controls as she directed teams and resources. She had learned more than just mechanics from the humans. She had learned their determination. "Plague at 10,000 kilometers and closing," came the announcement. 9 hours remaining. In the heart of a massive cargo ship, Jack and a team of engineers worked frantically to install a hybrid drive. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt. "Power it up," he called. The drive hummed to life, its quantum fields flowing smoothly through mechanical channels. Another ship saved. But time was running out. 8 hours to contact. First Guide's voice came over the fleet-wide communication system. "Attention all vessels. Modified ships, take your positions in the defensive line. Unmodified ships, proceed to the designated safe zones for conversion." From the command center window, Commander West watched the massive fleet reorganize itself. The modified ships formed a vast wall of silver their hulls glinting with both quantum light and sturdy mechanical additions. Behind them, the remaining vessels clustered in groups, waiting for their turn. 7 hours remaining. Quick's voice crackled over the radio. "Jack, we have a problem. The plague. It's learning, adapting. It's moving faster than we calculated." New data flowed onto the screens. The dark wave was accelerating, drawn to the massive concentration of quantum technology in the fleet. 5 hours to contact. Jack looked at the vast number of ships still waiting for modification. They would never finish in time. Unless... He turned to Quick, who had joined him in the cargo ship's engine room. "Remember what I taught you about circuit breakers?" Her eyes widened. "Yes, when too much power flows." "You break the circuit," they said together. Jack grabbed his radio. "Commander West, we need to kill all quantum systems in the unmodified ships. Shut them down completely. Run on emergency power only." "But that would leave them helpless," First Guide protested. "Better helpless than infected," Commander West replied. She understood immediately. "Give the order. All unmodified ships, quantum shutdown. Now." The fleet's glow dimmed as thousands of ships went dark, leaving only the converted vessels shining at full power. They formed a barrier of light against the approaching darkness. Humanity's simple mechanics merged with alien quantum science to create something entirely new. Plague at 5,000 kilometers. 4 hours to contact. The final battle was about to begin. The digital plague hit the defensive line like a storm hitting a seawall. Commander West watched from the command ship as the wave of darkness crashed against their modified vessels. The entire fleet held its breath. First line of ships holding. Quick reported, her silver fingers dancing across the control panels. Hybrid systems functioning at full capacity. The plague can't get through our mechanical barriers. But victory celebrations would have to wait. Jack's voice crackled over the radio, tense but controlled. "We've got a problem. The plague is trying to go around our defensive line. It's learning, adapting." First Guide's face showed fear for the first time. "If it reaches the powered-down ships, we won't let that happen," Commander West said firmly. She turned to the fleet communications. "All modified ships, spread out. Form a sphere around the others. Don't leave any gaps." The defensive line transformed, the modified ships moving with precise coordination. Their silver hulls formed a protective bubble around their powerless companions, a shield of light against the encroaching darkness. Jack worked frantically in the engine room of one of the barrier ships, making final adjustments to the hybrid drive. "Quick, are you seeing this?" he called over the radio. "The plague. It's actually trying to break through our mechanical systems." "Impossible," Quick replied. "Unless it's evolving. Jack, we need more power to the mechanical barriers. If we push these drives any harder, they'll burn out." Commander West made a quick decision. Do it. Better to burn out fighting than let that thing through. The modified ship's engines roared to life, mechanical systems straining at full power. The hybrid drives glowed with intense energy, quantum and physical technologies working together like never before. The plague struck again and again, searching for weaknesses. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by status reports and Quick's constant monitoring of the fleet's defenses. Then, something unexpected happened. "Look," Quick shouted, pointing to the main display. Where the plague touched the hybrid systems, it wasn't just being blocked. It was being changed. The mechanical components weren't just resisting the infection. They were somehow transforming it. Jack stared at the readings in amazement. It's like we're teaching it a new way to exist. The mechanical systems are giving the quantum energy a framework, a structure." First Guide leaned forward, his silver skin glowing with sudden understanding. "Of course, just as we learn to combine our technologies, the plague is being forced to adapt to a simpler, more stable form." The dark wave began to change color, shifting from threatening black to a soft blue glow. Where it touched the hybrid ships, it no longer tried to infect them. Instead, it seemed to synchronize with their systems. "It's not just a virus anymore," Quick said softly. "We've turned it into an upgrade." Commander West watched in awe as the transformed plague spread through their defensive line, strengthening rather than attacking their ships. "Send the order," she said. "Power up the rest of the fleet, one ship at a time." Carefully, methodically, they reactivated the powered-down ships, now protected by their hybrid systems, and the transformed plague. Each vessel came online stronger than before, their quantum systems enhanced by both mechanical stability and the reformed digital energy. As the last ship powered up, First Guide turned to the humans. "You've done more than save us," he said. "You've shown us a new way forward, a balance between advancement and understanding." Jack smiled, wiping grease from his hands. "And you've shown us that sometimes the future needs the past to guide it." The next few days were filled with celebration and planning. The Stellar Collective, no longer refugees, offered Earth membership in their civilization. Humans would be known throughout the galaxy as the bridge builders, those who could connect the old and new, the simple and complex. Quick approached Jack on the observation deck, watching Earth's sun shine in the distance. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Well," he grinned, holding up his trusty wrench, "I hear the Collective's Engineering Academy needs some new instructors. Someone's got to teach the next generation how to check their spark plugs." Commander West stood with First Guide, watching their two peoples work together, sharing knowledge and stories. "It's funny," she said. "They called us primitive, but in the end, that's exactly what saved them." "Perhaps," First Guide replied. "True advancement isn't about leaving things behind, but about bringing the best of the past forward with us." Out in space, the massive fleet gleamed with new power, a testament to what could be achieved when civilizations looked past their differences and learned from each other. The stars seemed brighter somehow, lighting the way to a future that neither humans nor aliens could have imagined alone. Sometimes the greatest solutions are the simplest ones, and the best teachers are those willing to learn.